So many times we separate ourselves in a way that if something bad happens in the world, it's those people. And so we distance ourselves from that. We try to make up all reasons why perhaps they may have even deserved what they got. And I think that is the wrong way to approach things. Because not only does that take away the call for compassion, for assistance, for help, it also leads to an us versus them mentality, which is a foundation for racism. And as much as I've been talking about racism over the last several weeks, what I've found out is that it's insidious. There are things that maybe we don't always realize that it could be construed as racism. But even when I'm saying things, sometimes people say, well, you're discriminating against, for lack of a better term, white people. And that's not my purpose. That's not my goal. My goal is to be fair. My goal is to call a spade a spade. But at the same time, if I'm doing something that's, again, I have to bring a reason why I'm saying such things. That it's not to perpetuate racism, but it's to try to find a way to identify and mitigate it, which means to fix it so that it's not a problem in the future. But the idea here is, especially at this time of year, where people are giving here and giving there, and those with goods can have parties. And again, there's nothing against having parties, get-togethers, feasts. The Bible talks about that, feasts. It doesn't say stop having feasts, stop having parties, stop having get-togethers. But it's to have compassion. And you can name various areas around the world where this is absolutely needed. Of course, the thing that sticks out in one's mind is what's happening in Gaza. For whatever reason, it's cold there now. You'd figure shouldn't be that cold. It's near the Mediterranean. It's usually a pretty hot area. And of course, it's mostly arid, more desert than anything else. But right now it's cold. Whatever shelter that would have been supplied by housing, buildings, the buildings are pretty much all destroyed in the conflict between Israel and Hamas. This is not to blame the combating parties, although it's very easy to do that, and to be honest, there is blame to go around. Enough blame on both sides to really fill a stadium. But the key is, what about the forgotten people who right now are suffering? The rain comes down and it's cold. It's freezing. Nothing stops except for maybe a bit of fabric that we hope that the rain doesn't soak through and then ends up causing more problems than what it's worth. And to add to that, the scarcity of enough food. I mean, we can go in our refrigerator at any time or in our cabinet. If worse comes to worse, we can open up a can of soup. Some of us has cup noodles, and we are bemoaning the fact, oh, I got to eat cup noodles. Oh, man. But you're seeing people that they wish they had cup of noodles. They wish they had cans of soup. They wish they had a cracker or two. But they don't have it. For whatever the reason, this is where having compassion really goes a long way. As these people who have been migrating here to there, trying to avoid the fighting, trying to avoid the bombing, trying to avoid the gunfire. And in haste to try to be safe, there's nothing left that's standing. Everything is a pile of rubble. And so there is this reality. This reality is people are getting sick, people are dying, including children. And now as I've been thinking of that, my mind comes back to in this country and how we rarely anymore talk. And think about this. Have you ever seen people on the side of the road need food, homeless, have a little bit of money? And then you see places where the homeless gather. They put up makeshift tents, makeshift shelters on the street. Of course, it's nasty because they don't know where to dispose of their waste, so it's on the street. And all we do is turn around or turn our heads in disgust when it should be, how do we get these people off the street? Not to put them in another neighborhood so that neighborhood ends up suffering, but to resolve the issue. What's going to resolve the issue? What is it going to take? Now, at this point, I haven't really heard a satisfactory answer from politicians on either side. And that's because it's just too big of a problem. Okay, so you don't think about those in Gaza, the Gaza Strip. What about those people here that are exposed, again, to the elements? Right now, we're California, at least the LA area, we've had actually more rain right now. We have over 2/3 of the rain we would normally have for the entire season from July through June. And we haven't even gotten through to the end of December yet. And it's another rainstorm, and it seems like there's going to be another few storms that's coming on the way too. So these questions about shelters and so on are not just academic, they're real. And are we doing it in a, well, that's those people. That's those people of a certain type, of a certain race, of a certain culture. Why are we worrying about them? And that's a very good question. It's because essentially, except for the grace of God, we could be suffering the same thing. America has been blessed because they have probably the best moats in, I mean, you have one side, you have the Atlantic Ocean. You got to cross that entire ocean to get to the shores on the eastern side. On the western side, you have to even cross a bigger ocean, the Pacific Ocean. Well, you got missiles, and you can fire missiles, but no, but you can't occupy unless you send actual people over. And that's going to be a problem. But we are still suffering from, and think about, have you really heard that much about the homeless issue, the homeless problem from either candidate now? From any politician? It's like it's just disappeared. But I guarantee you, it hasn't disappeared. Those which the neighborhood, they're setting up homes in the neighborhood, you see it already. We just like, oh, that's just the issue for Skid Row in LA or Skid Row in San Francisco or whatever happens to be the Tenderloin district in San Francisco. But it's spread for much further than that. And we probably should have started to deal with the issue when it was just largely confined to downtown LA in Skid Row. But we didn't want to think that's so, again, it's those people. It's they got to deal with it. I'm fine. And we have to lose that attitude, especially when Christ himself talks about how he will say to those both on the right and to the left of him in judgment that I was hungry, you didn't feed me. I had no clothes and you clothed me. I was in prison and you visited me. And you sick and you were there with me. And of course, especially in this day and age, no one has seen Christ in the flesh. But we will cry out, when did we see you in this condition? And then Jesus said, insomuch as you have done it to the least of these, you've done it unto me. That in itself should galvanize us to care more for people around the world. What about when U.S. aid got cut and people who would normally receive food and medicines and things that were meant for their survival, but because they weren't Americans, funding was cut. And again, you don't hear anything about it. But people are dying. People are dying because for those that should have been able to help, they have no funding to help. It's not that people can't do it. They don't have the funds to do it. And the government is not helping to mitigate the suffering that's all around the world. And let me also say something that's just popped in my head. It's very easy to call certain nations blank hole countries. I'm not going to dignify and try to say that name because essentially it's, number one, it's asinine, and number two, it's just plain cruel and crude. I don't care who says it, it's crude. But wouldn't it have been good to help change these countries from being blank holes to countries that at least have a start on prospering? That one could build an infrastructure. But what about our people? We have enough. There's many things that we are wasting our money on. We have to make priorities. And so what we find is that the priority for now is to forget any other country and to surround ourselves with our moat. Atlantic Ocean on the east, Pacific Ocean on the west. And in some certain cases, except the buffer is Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America, I don't care what you call it, and the Caribbean. I remember my wife and I used to go on cruises. Hopefully in the future we can still do that. Maybe curtailed a little bit, maybe not as long, based upon her medical condition, but hopefully we'll be able to, I'll be able to show her that there's still things that she can visit. There's still places where she can go, where she can rest. And I'm going to be with her 24/7, so it doesn't matter anyway. But when going to these islands, and we look at the beaches, we see the brochure, we got the beaches, we got people sunbathing, you got going on zip lines, and this is all well and good. You know, we want to go for the fun. We want to go to see an exotic locale. We want to be able to go to see what's taking place. But then, have we seen the shanty towns? Have we seen the places where people live there? And they say, well, that's one of the better places in town. And you begin to think, my Lord, what have we done? Because we're not thinking about those who are not like us. As long as it's to those people, out of sight, out of mind. But there are enough reminders that let us know that we have a whole lot of work to do. And those who criticize the church for not helping, I am so glad that my church, True Vision, and sir, I'm not just calling them out because they're just the best one, but they did try. My assembly, the church I belong to, did try to help those who are less fortunate. Gave away food, gave away clothes, gave away things that people could use. And it didn't matter if you were Latino or Latina. It didn't matter whether you were African American, black, person of color. Didn't matter if you were Asian and so on, and you just was downtrodden. This is a place, come and get it, pick it up. One of the things that I won't forget, we were part of the Central California District Council, and we had a meeting, and they had made some food. And there was a few cartons of food that could have been, that we could probably eat on for a few days. So I said, let's take those. So we're driving down towards South LA on our way home. And we're looking on the side, like when you're passing El Segundo, Rosecrans. And you notice there are RVs lining the street. And you know that there are people that are living in these RVs because they don't have a place to stay. And as we were driving, we happened to go past this place where there were several of them sitting in a corner. They had chairs, and they're like very inexpensive chairs, and they're sitting around. And we had these food, and we said, you know what? My wife and I, almost at the same time, let's go back. Maybe they want some of this food. So we went, parked the car, got out, and went to where these men were. And said, well, these are something that I hope that this will help you. And to see the faces of gratitude, shock, I will never forget that. It was gratitude that someone thought of them enough. Maybe they weren't going to eat that night. I don't know. But they were so happy to receive it. It wasn't that they, oh no, we want money. No, they wanted the food. And so we gave it to them. And they kept saying, thank you. I didn't do it for them to keep doing that. But the idea is they may not be like me, but they are suffering. And if they're suffering in this world, then the child of God, if the Lord is putting it on your heart, you must feel it. You must pursue it. It doesn't matter if they don't look like you. The fact is, they hunger like you. They thirst like you. They freeze like you. And eventually, they'll die like us. But what do we do in the meantime to make their sojourn passable? And to maybe plant a seed in them that will help the most important portion of themselves, which is their souls. Their souls. That they know that there's someone there that is helpful. And maybe they feel that this is the way that God has sent his help. We don't know how they're thinking. But it's not for us to guess at what they're thinking about, to guess to see if they're going to be grateful or not. Maybe they're not. If we're talking about being grateful or not, Jesus healed 10 lepers. Some of us know that story. They were pariahs in their community. They couldn't be around anyone. If they came towards someone, you have to cry. You have to cry, unclean, unclean, unclean. Why? So to make people know, don't touch them. Don't get around them. Because you'll catch what they have. And you'll be unclean with leprosy. So the Lord Jesus, before they may have said, Lord, help us. And the Lord obliged. Healed them of their leprosy. And 9 of them went on their way. Probably happy that something has had take place, something this is amazing, this is astounding. The rest of their life has changed because now they're no longer unclean. They can come home to maybe what's left of their family. Maybe they can pick up their business, whatever happens. But on the other hand, there was one person who thought about, you know what? Let me come back and thank Jesus and thank him for what they've done, for what he's done to us. I just came back to thank you. But even if they didn't, remember this point, the Lord Jesus would not have revoked his healing of those 10 men. One came back to thank him. We always talk about that one. That's great. But understand this too. The Lord wasn't going to put leprosy back on them because they didn't come back to thank him. That's a very important point. Because are we looking for accolades? Are we looking for helping our own? Or are we thinking about giving to others regardless of who they are, what they represent? If they need and if we have help, God can use you to be the arm through which their help comes. Just a thought. So that we stop being myopic and think of ourselves and of our own kind. There are people in Appalachia that are starving. Don't care who they voted for. They're starving. It was all over the country, all over the world. And people are being pinned down by natural disasters, pinned down by conflicts in the region, pinned down by oppressive governments. Whatever the reason, or gangs, whatever reason, where's your sympathy? Where's your compassion? It shouldn't just be about me. It should be about all of us. God bless you. Love you all in Jesus' name.